The world was told that Yu Menglong's death was nothing more than an accident, a night of drinking gone wrong. But what if that's not the truth at all? What if behind the official headlines lies a video so disturbing it had to be erased before anyone could see it? Whispers across the internet claim a powerful producer exposed an original clip showing Yu not drunk and careless, but trapped, surrounded, and humiliated by 9 people before he ever fell. Screenshots, vanishing audio files, and frantic messages supposedly from Yu himself fuel a picture too dark to dismiss. Why did his studio dissolve weeks before his death? Why did neighbors suddenly rush to sell their homes? And why do the most shocking details vanish faster than they appear? Tonight on Criminal Tracks, we uncover the chilling claims, the buried evidence, and the scandalous questions no one in power dares answer. On September 11th, 2025, news spread with stunning speed that Yu Menglong, one of China's well-known actors, had died. The official account described a fall from a luxury residential tower in Beijing's Chaoyang district. According to police, he had been drinking heavily that night and somehow lost his balance. Within hours, the tragedy was labeled an accident, and the case appeared closed. There was no suggestion of foul play, no mention of anything unusual, just a straightforward explanation that a night of alcohol had ended in disaster. For many, the suddenness of both his death and the conclusion was difficult to absorb. Authorities wasted no time setting the narrative. Their announcement was short and precise. Yu had been out with friends. He returned home, locked himself in a room, and then fell. Nothing suspicious was found, no sign of struggle. It was presented as an unfortunate but ordinary event, one that could happen to anyone after too much drinking. The simplicity of the message was deliberate, a clear attempt to halt speculation before it began. His management team quickly echoed the official stance, issuing their own statement that confirmed his passing and reminded the public that it was an accident. Fans searching for answers found themselves with very little information beyond that. They were told to grieve, but not to question. For those who admired Yu for his roles in television dramas and for his gentle public image, the brevity of the details felt unsatisfying. The reality of losing someone they had watched and supported for years clashed with the idea that his life had ended so abruptly and so quietly. In the days that followed, the weight of the official story was reinforced by his family. On September 16th, a post attributed to Yu's mother appeared online. Her words carried sorrow and finality. She urged people to stop spreading speculation and rumors, saying her son had simply fallen after drinking too much. The post was positioned as the definitive end to public debate, a grieving parent pleading for dignity and closure. While many respected her words, others could not shake the feeling that something was being left unsaid. Why, they wondered, was it necessary for a mother in mourning to address the world so directly? Shouldn't the truth have spoken for itself? Authorities doubled down. On September 21st, Beijing's Chaoyang police released a bulletin that 3 individuals had been detained for fabricating and spreading false rumors about Yu's death. The message was clear: questioning the official explanation would not be tolerated. This announcement was quickly repeated by state-run outlets, stressing that Yu's death was nothing more than a tragic accident. The response online was immediate. Entire threads vanished, accounts were suspended, and content linked to alternative theories disappeared overnight. Platforms like Weibo conducted mass deletions, ensuring that only the official line remained visible. The speed and coordination of the cleanup felt familiar to many. In China, when a story involves a high-profile figure, information management is often swift and uncompromising. Fans who tried to discuss inconsistencies found their posts removed. Some described watching videos disappear in real time, replaced by generic warnings against rumor spreading. The effect was chilling. It told people that not only was the case settled, but also that continuing to ask questions could put them in danger. Despite the efforts to enforce clarity, the official account left lingering doubts. The statement spoke of alcohol but offered no concrete numbers, no toxicology results, no timeline beyond vague references. It did not detail the injuries or describe the sequence that led from dinner with friends to a fatal fall from a high-rise. It was all conclusion with little explanation. The absence of detail made it easier for skeptics to hold on to their questions. For those willing to accept the official narrative, Yu's death was a tragic accident that should have been allowed to rest. For those who distrusted it, the swiftness of the announcement felt more like a dismissal than a resolution. In either case, what stood out was the determination to close the book before it had even been opened. Authorities and media moved as though the only goal was to control the story, not to tell it fully. This is the space where the first part of Yu Menglong's story sits. It is the space of facts presented without elaboration, of police bulletins and family statements that insist the matter is settled. According to that record, a beloved actor drank too much one night and made a fatal mistake. There is no mystery in that version, no hidden players, no deeper layers. It is a tragedy explained in a few short lines. Yet for many, the simplicity was not comforting. It was unsettling, almost hollow, and it created the perfect conditions for doubt to grow. The official accident story was supposed to end speculation. Instead, it became the starting point for the storm of suspicion that followed. What spread across the internet in the weeks after Yu Menglong's death was not silence, but noise. A roar of claims, rumors, and alleged leaks that painted a picture far different from the official accident story. At the center of this wave was a claim so shocking, it quickly outpaced the sober statements from police and family. It was the rumor that a powerful producer had obtained or even released an original clip showing Yu being forced and humiliated by 9 people before his fall. The image of a star trapped, surrounded, and degraded was disturbing. And the more it was censored, the more people wanted to see it. The supposed video was described in fragments. Some said it showed Yu in a dimly lit room, surrounded by a group who taunted him while he begged to leave. Others said it captured the moments before he was pushed toward the window. Whether such a clip ever existed was never proven, but descriptions spread widely across fan groups, gossip sites, and foreign platforms outside the reach of Chinese censorship. To those who believed it, this was not an accident, but a staged humiliation, orchestrated as punishment or as a warning. Alongside the tale of the 9 attackers came other claims that seemed to support it. Low-quality audio files circulated, allegedly recorded from the building the night Yu died. In them, listeners swore they could hear more than one voice, raised in anger or mockery, and then the sudden silence of something terrible happening. The authenticity of these clips was never established, but their emotional impact was real. Hearing screams, even if unverifiable, made the idea of a drunken stumble sound almost absurd. To fans still in shock, the audio felt like proof that Yu had not been alone in his final moments. The number 9 carried its own strange gravity. Earlier stories had spoken of 11 attackers, but as the rumor evolved, it narrowed to 9, a detail repeated so often it began to feel like a fact. Some said they were industry insiders, others claimed they were connected to shadowy investors or crime figures. Theories spun out of control, linking the attackers to everything from business rivalries to hidden political interests. Each retelling added new layers, and the lack of official transparency left space for every wild possibility to sound plausible. Then, there was the alleged final message Yu sent to his mother, which only deepened the sense of danger around him. The screenshots showed him warning that the money he was surrounded by was not his, that it was dirty, and that he feared he would be killed. The message resonated with the idea of coercion, of a man trapped in a world of powerful people using him as a pawn. If the message was genuine, it suggested he was aware of the forces closing in on him. If it was fake, its spread demonstrated how badly people wanted to believe there was more to his story than a drunken misstep. The rumor about the clip also dovetailed with long-standing whispers about the darker side of the entertainment industry. Tales of casting couch exploitation, of young stars pressured into compromising positions by producers and executives, were not new. Yu's alleged humiliation at the hands of 9 people fit into this narrative too neatly to be ignored. Fans began framing him as another casualty of an industry where the powerful could act without consequence. The idea that his fall was not only violent, but also preceded by deliberate degradation, transformed him in the eyes of many from a victim of bad luck and to a victim of systemic abuse. One detail that fueled these stories was the claim that neighbors in the building had rushed to sell their apartments after the incident. According to online posts, over 100 units were suddenly listed, as if those who lived nearby wanted nothing to do with a place tied to something so dark. Whether those numbers were true or inflated did not matter. The claim added to the atmosphere of fear. If residents themselves were fleeing, it must mean they knew or saw something they could never speak aloud. In this chaotic swirl, the alleged producer who exposed the original clip became a shadowy figure. Some said it was an insider who had grown tired of corruption. Others said it was a rival trying to destabilize the industry by leaking evidence of scandal. The idea that someone behind the scenes had dared to reveal what really happened gave the conspiracy a sense of drama and urgency. It suggested that Yu's death was not just a private tragedy, but part of a larger struggle for power. Each piece of supposed evidence was met with swift erasure on Chinese platforms. Videos vanished within hours, audio clips were blocked, posts deleted. Official sources said this was to prevent the spread of dangerous misinformation. But to many, the speed of the takedowns only confirmed the story's authenticity. The harder authorities tried to bury the claims, the more people assumed they had stumbled onto something true. It was a classic cycle: censorship feeding suspicion, suspicion feeding belief. Internationally, the rumors gained even more momentum. News aggregators and gossip blogs translated the claims into English, Korean, and other languages. They packaged them into slick timelines that presented the original clip as the missing puzzle piece that proved Yu had been murdered. For audiences outside China, where official statements were harder to access, these rumors often became the dominant version of events. The story of 9 attackers and a humiliated star was far more gripping than the sterile police bulletins about alcohol and accidents. The power of the rumor was not in whether it was real, but in how it filled the void left by silence. People wanted to understand how a man with a promising career, a man still in his prime, could suddenly vanish from the world. The official explanation was too shallow, too neat, to satisfy that hunger. The alleged clip, with its cruelty and horror, offered a reason. It made sense of the senseless, even if it was built on speculation. By the end of September, this alternate version of Yu Menglong's death was impossible to ignore. It spread through whispers in China, through reposts abroad, through videos dissecting every detail. In one version, Yu died in an accident. In another, he was surrounded by 9 people, forced, humiliated, and eliminated. Without proof, both realities existed side by side, and each person chose which to believe. For the government, the clip was a fabrication. For many fans, it was the only explanation that matched the intensity of their loss. By the time the story of the alleged 9 attackers had taken hold online, Yu Menglong's death had stopped being a simple case, and instead became a battleground between fact, fear, and imagination. The official record had not changed. Authorities still repeated that it was a tragic accident caused by alcohol. His mother's statement was still held up as the definitive end to speculation, and police continued to pursue those who shared alternative narratives. Yet outside the confines of official announcements, the whispers only grew louder. The reason was simple. The more the government insisted on one version, the more people suspected there was another. This divide did not just concern Yu's fall. It revealed something deeper about how tragedy and truth are managed. For many, the speed with which the accident story was declared left them uneasy. In the absence of transparency, even the most far-fetched rumor could seem believable. The idea that Yu had been surrounded, humiliated, and forced toward his death was horrific, but it matched the scale of grief his fans felt. They could not accept that someone so young and talented had been lost to something as mundane as too much drinking. To them, there had to be something larger at work, and the story of the 9 attackers fit the void left by unanswered questions. Censorship became its own fuel for conspiracy. Every deleted video, every silenced post, and every account suspended became evidence to those convinced of foul play. If nothing was wrong, they asked, why erase so much? The logic was circular but powerful. Censorship is supposed to end debate, but in this case, it functioned like gasoline on a fire. In China's tightly controlled online space, silence often speaks louder than words, and in Yu's case, that silence was deafening. Abroad, where content could not be scrubbed as easily, the theories took on a life of their own. International outlets, entertainment blogs, and YouTube channels picked apart the alleged sequence of events. They compared the quick accident label to other sensitive deaths in China, where details were kept vague and speculation punished. Yu's case began to look less like an isolated tragedy and more like part of a pattern. For global audiences who were already skeptical of official narratives, the claims of a cover-up seemed credible by default. For Yu's fans, the pain of uncertainty was compounded by the lack of closure. Without open discussion, grief turned into suspicion. They wanted to mourn him, but each effort was shadowed by questions. Why had his studio been deregistered weeks before? Why was no clear forensic report ever released? Why did neighbors supposedly want to leave the building? None of these details were explained, and each unanswered question became another brick in the wall of conspiracy. The theories also tapped into broader concerns about the entertainment industry itself. Stories of exploitation, of stars pressured or discarded by those with money and influence, were already circulating long before Yu's death. His sudden fall fit too neatly into that narrative for many to ignore. The claim that he was forced and humiliated by 9 people before his end became more than just gossip. It became a symbol of how vulnerable performers could be when caught in the web of powerful figures. Whether true or not, the rumor gave shape to fears that had long been whispered but rarely confirmed. At the same time, others saw the frenzy as proof of how little trust remained in official accounts. The government wanted Yu's death to be seen as a private misfortune, nothing more. But the refusal to provide detail or transparency meant that almost no one accepted the story without question. In this way, the incident became less about Yu alone and more about the struggle between controlled narratives and public belief. It showed how quickly a community could turn to conspiracy when denied information, and how suspicion could take root in the cracks left by silence. As the weeks went on, 2 realities continued to exist side by side. In one, Yu Menglong drank too much and fell, leaving behind devastated fans and a grieving family. In the other, he was the victim of a deliberate humiliation carried out by 9 individuals, erased from the official record, but kept alive in whispers and reposts. The truth may never be fully known, but the persistence of the second version shows just how powerful doubt can be. In the end, the tragedy of Yu Menglong is not only about how he died, but also about what followed. It became a mirror of the struggle between truth and control, between loss and suspicion. The official story sought to close the chapter quickly, but the rumor of the 9 attackers ensured the case would live on in the public imagination. For fans, that haunting question lingers. Was his death the result of chance, or the calculated act of people who believed they would never be exposed? It is a question that continues to echo, unanswered, every time his name is mentioned. The truth about Yu Menglong's death remains locked between silence and suspicion. The government insists it was a tragic accident, but the rumors of a leaked clip, 9 attackers, and a silenced voice refuse to disappear. Each deletion only feeds more doubt, and every unanswered question pushes fans deeper into disbelief. Was this truly misfortune, or was it a humiliation designed to destroy him? The case may never be closed in the minds of those who loved him. Stay with Criminal Tracks, because the stories they try hardest to bury are often the ones you most need to hear.